pool of blood and almost died. Al interview, you mentioned that you were at home with David or someone else, and they said, we need to call the ambulance. To others, like someone who's long before it was made public. And more viewers think it's the first real break in Tamar's story because the difference between their accounts became proof in and of its after. She told a party for him, I listed all as untrue. Tamar, I was never at ease with the relationship you and of me. Tone even more. All right. He then describes how he himself to the next location because the others persisted. Even though he didn't want to travel there, the dude doesn't decide to celebrate. Sounds like comfortable, but didn't know how. There's also where more people pause it than at any other point. Tamar claims that she hosted a function for a friend. His reason is almost forensic. He explains why this statement bothers him. Home because you were in a damn automobile. You two were kissing while he was sitting on his lap in that damn Uber. All right? And I was really uncomfortable. All right, now, it doesn't appear like a light to anyone who knows who was involved. Meant to divert attention, inspire sympathy, and give the impression that he abused her on a night she... One thing is clear, whether or not the audience agrees with him. Tamar displays herself as the giver when she adds, I gave a friend a birthday party, which leaves room for interpretations that she may not have intended. Or a friend who is outraged by the person she admired, the sufferer who was betrayed in return. Motivating story in and of itself. But as enters the room, it becomes a disagreement rather than a story. The story begins to take on a tense tone when the audience is forced to choose between two conflicting time frames, soluble facts, not through danger or violence, but rather through the kind of confusion that leads to doubts about motives, decisions, and memories. He continues to go back to how they were, and then he adds a layer of emotional suffering that makes everything more intense, giving the idea that silence is more powerful than words. He admits that he is grieving the loss of a friendship he once didn't want all of this to happen, but that when someone expresses such a level of disapproval, it becomes more difficult to dismiss them as simply careless or malicious, which makes vulnerability. The most unsettling part of it all, the internet begins to formulate theories, reportedly dodging. Some believe that he is overreacting, believe that each of them is presenting the truth as they understand it, and that the real story lies somewhere in the area where those realities converge. Nevertheless, the reference to feeling anxious, the next revelation that dredges the tone is witnessing Tamar's conversations. Any factual charges. He just shows discomfort, the kind that comes from something subtle, unsaid, or hard to prove yet hard to ignore. The weight of his voice suggests that there is more to the story than either recognize. Not because he made any accusations against her. Suddenly, there are times in the comment area that Tamar didn't address during her interview, when he connects that uneasiness to the story she publicly shared, which he claims was meant to paint him as the antagonist. The stakes rise even more because the story isn't about a birthday party at all. It has to do with perception, accountability, and the construct a narrative before the other person has a chance to speak her. For her footif, both timelines are truthful in and of themselves. Yes, thank you, goodbye. Well, music and the... But now it all comes down to one question. Did Tamar inadvertently reveal more details than she intended to? Or did she oversimplify the story to keep herself safe? That question remains heavy and unresolved as the night of the incident began to complex than the unseen in the room, the fleeting glances people say they noticed, and the way certain little too neatly when one another become more significant than just to searching for meaning even when it isn't given, because his claim that he was never comfortable with Tamar. And viewers concentrate on the tension in slow-motion edits created by enthusiasts online, because Mendeecees' interactions are not made carelessly. They have a weight to them, a heaviness that suggests this was a trend rather than a singular event. The idea alone provokes speculation, the absence of a direct statement or proof. After that, a small footage of him expressing his discomfort with Tamar and Mendeecees' connection keeps coming up. I was advised by me alone to paint me as the untidy person that everyone should avoid on angry days because he will divulge all of your personal information. However, Tamar's vague comments that he doesn't know what happened that night give the sense that's been keeping something for 4 months. The internet takes that moment and runs with it. The more people compare the interviews, the more the gaps between what she depicts grow. And stories start to emerge in an attempt to match his unease. The details, such as friends deciding where to go next, and someone suggesting a fresh spot, are not very. He tells how the group moved from one venue to another, expressing his hesitancy at each stop. He didn't want to stay up though, so his hesitation became in and of itself. True that there are people who can, I get it. Before I addressed it, some individuals were unaware of it. For the record though, she went out and stayed up late. He refused to get out of his automobile or change locations. Every action seemed like a decision that the group, and particularly her, had imposed on him. This is important since it suggests that he was coerced into spending the rest of the evening rather than as a celebration. It was something that initially didn't feel right to him. That small shift in tone creates a new tension. Daylight even came was Tamar's story. Then he brings up the scene that makes people go crazy. The drive, not the destination, but the atmosphere within the vehicle. By the time they got to Tamar's house, she wasn't in the rear seat by herself. She wasn't distant. She wasn't half asleep after a difficult night. As per, he described her as sitting on Mendeecees' lap, kissing him, because she implied that she hardly knew him earlier in the timeline by describing their relationship as casual, restricted, and harmless. The internet goes crazy over that fact. But this is a completely different picture from someone who says they were in the same call, the conversation from a few inches away, not from a blog or a stranger. At this time, fans begin to analyze intentions. In front of the camera, why would she downplay the bond? Why would she portray the evening as a celebration for a friend if the vibe in the car suggested otherwise? Furthermore, why would she claim to be unaware of what transpired given the alleged intimacy of the events before it? None of these questions are addressed in the transcript, but their existence speaks louder than any confirmation. However, he did not charge her with any wrongdoing. Regarding what happened upstairs, he doesn't make any firm statements. Instead, he focuses on the rationale for his choice. He didn't go upstairs with her since, in his opinion, they wanted privacy. Whatever was going on between them seemed to be more significant to the evening than he was. This distinction becomes a crucial point in the narrative as viewers start to question whether her interview was meant to reveal something or to hide something. Another completely once he reveals that he was left out of the conspiracy she openly fabricated against him. This highlights the portion of the transcript that appears to be more proof than analysis. His claim that after seeing them in the car, he decided to go back home. He doesn't scream. He doesn't invent things. He simply states his decision. He went back to his house. She made her way upstairs. He wasn't there. He doesn't know what happened next. Because it challenges the public's assumptions about his involvement. It is this recognition that propels the internet forward. When she said on the internet that she was hurt, many blamed him. He was hauled away and accused by others when she awoke. He asserts, however, that none of that happened while he was present. A new depth of feeling. When he talks about being implicated despite not being there, it is introduced. He bemoans the manner in which, instead of just defending himself, the narrative chose him as a villain before he could respond. And because consistency is just as crucial to storytelling as facts. Viewers unintentionally begin to notice the shortcomings in Tamar's performance at this point. Additionally, viewers find it more challenging to reconcile someone who claims to be unaware of what transpired with another person, giving a thorough chronology that contradicts her description of what happened that night. Though the phone calls at V12 are then described. Many people asked him why she was sitting on Mandy's lap. He observed multiple persons observing the same scenario. A number of people were reportedly confused by what they were seeing. He doesn't say anything about it. I don't push it. He just mentions it, and the sentence's restraint makes it more powerful. The more he speaks, the more obvious it is that he is not trying to divulge secrets. He's trying to shield himself from a narrative that he believes was meant to harm him. Viewers begin to consider the disturbing notion at this moment, that they may both be expressing what they believe to be the truth. However, only one of them is disclosing the full timeline, because when he finally acknowledges that he regrets choosing this path and that it adds to the impression that he is messy, something emotional comes out. He is aware of how this looks. He knows that this will be utilized to make him seem difficult. But he still believes that that risk is not as essential as the truth, his truth. And that vulnerability creates another online rift. He allegedly manipulates people's emotions. Some believe Tamar was the first to change hers. And many believe the reality lies between their stories. Intertwined in circumstances neither of them prefers to discuss directly. But the most explosive moment is yet to come. The one where he blames the public narrative she created and removes himself from the events of the night. The thing that follows has a different tone as a result of that turn, because once he claims that he was the collateral damage in her story, her conflict shifts from a private dispute to a public. But the deeper question remains acknowledged and unanswered. If she truly believed he had hurt her, details match the cave. Think so at all? Why did her tale depict him that way? Questions that will cloud the future occurrences, Hayes? They are the ones that transform the tension that arises from personal conflicts in public consequences. Silently, the transformation occurs. Initially, it was almost enough for others to hear. Up until this moment, piece together time periods and body language had happened. Thus, the story becomes more switches from reporting events to discussing impact. But the transcript now explores the aftermath, especially when the internet started reacting to Tamar's first accusations. The main point of the transcript is a single comment that gets louder as more people see the video. On social media, she shared that she woke up in a pool of blood and almost died. The emotional core of the story is just the sentence "nearly died." When she first said it, the internet erupted, as viewers recall. Numerous accounts republished her statement, adding dramatic revisions, threads, hypotheses, and condolences to the comments area. But at the same moment, a dark undertone began to surface, because the identities of the other individuals who had been there earlier that evening were not included in her statement, even though he acknowledged that they were together before the incident. He made it clear that he wasn't with her when she walked upstairs, and he repeats it in a low, almost icy voice. However, because of the ambiguity of her early public statements, others filled in the spaces with him at the center. He immediately felt it when he talks about the controversy, the accusations, and the assumptions. He sounds like someone who suddenly realized the internet had chosen a villain before ever hearing his side of the story. At this time, a scene from the interview replays with new meaning, in which he states Tamar says she almost died. His account seems more like someone who has seen the facts twisted and stretched online until they no longer match what actually happened than someone who is incredulous. Instead of accusing her of lying, he questions her framing. Why would someone say something so audacious without disclosing who wasn't present? Why did we let everyone think he was part of this narrative? When he reveals that someone actually volunteered to call an ambulance, that while the camera is already rolling, his tone changes. So far, it appears to be just another recap, another crazy online situation. The atmosphere in the room quickly shifts. Eyes narrow, speaks straight to the listener rather than the crowd, and his shoulders are slanted forward. Not as an outsider, Tamar. Do you know what actually occurred to you? No, I'm not. Or what are you able to discuss? I can discuss it, but I have no idea what actually occurs. He used him as a person, not as a headline. Think of as a friend. After a brief pause, long enough to make the silence uncomfortable, he goes there. You were a bold-faced, bald-headed goddamn. I'm telling you to your face. Deceitful. On social media, he responds coolly. On that frame, the video freezes. His gaze were taut with a mix of pain and fatigue, and his jaw was fixed. The recording of Tamar's own interview, in which she maintains that she has really just that she is frequently looped by admirers. Stitched into reaction films, slowed down and rewinding a friend's birthday. Two stories, one night and a growing realization that true in the same way. On the one hand, Tamar subtly tells L'Oreal that she is unsure of what truly transpired, brushing off the details as though they were too blurry to recall. However, he is retracing the timeline created by the meal and car drive. But the narrative both well-written, so do the interpretations, cause his dissatisfaction. Seems too specific and detailed to be dismissed as a random internet mess. Some viewers argue that this is the point at which the mask slips off. Some contend that he is lying and that the facts are being distorted by his emotions. Somewhere in the midst, a more significant question starts to surface. When Tamar describes that night as a birthday celebration she organized, is she disputing his story or inadvertently admitting the details she left out? Because beneath all of the memes, jokes, and drags, one disturbing notion keeps popping up in the comments. If she really can't remember what happened, why does his account sound so true? Soon as he talks, people's opinions of the video shift. What was once an angry public fight now seems to be the initial file of a more complex case where facts and feelings are involved. Conflict in unexpected ways instead than cooperating. The camera records every movement of